We have a very deep fear, a feeling of impending doom. And the fear is so deep that we tend to buy any belief system with incredible fanaticism and try to press it on other people. So there is incredible proselytizing and lack of respect for one another. The rate of entropy is staggering at this moment, the way in which we are using up non-renewable resources and moving disequilibrium into balance or into no energy potential. Entropy is upon us, and it's just becoming all too obvious very quickly. Not only in the usual energy things, but in a lot of the metals we work with and so on. We are just, and let alone our air and our water and our forests. We are absolutely unconscious and just destroying the very chance of survival. Allen Ginsberg came to me from a meeting in New Jersey, and he said, well, I've just been at a meeting about toxic waste, and I want you to know, Ram Dass, it already happened. Gee, and I had a moment thinking, gee, isn't this interesting now? It's a new one now. It's already happened. We don't have to worry about will it happen. It has already happened. We can now all get ready to die, which is great for my dying project. We have punk rock and all of its implications. And part of punk rock's very complex, by the way, but one of the things it does represent, or at one level it represents, is a repudiation of the entire spiritual consciousness movement of the 60s. Saying, oh, that's a crock. I mean, all you've got to do is go to a beer parlor around any college these days and say, are you really growing from your experiences of being related to the wise people who came out of the 60s and early 70s? And you should hear the answers. I mean, if you ask it even more subtle than that, of course. Say, what do you think about the 60s? Nothing happened there, man. A lot of creeps, you know, nuts. Part of the Seva Foundation was trying to collect money at Ann Arbor, Michigan at a football game for Cambodia. And people were yelling at the guys that were collecting the money, bomb them. Screw them. Screw the Cambodians. That's us. It's part of this scenario. And that we are in a swirl of paranoia that gets worse and worse. And even our Boy Scout leader, Jimmy, who generally tries to be good, is caught in the military power complex finally. And he's, you do this or... Except it doesn't really work, because France says, well, now we ought to think twice about this, you know. It's far out. It's incredible process. And that's paranoia and fear leads to authority. So we will very, very possibly elect Ronald Reagan. And we will, out of our desire to hold on to the standard of living we're familiar with, we will give up civil liberties left and right and impose all kinds of authoritarian structures on the society to try to hold on to how we thought it was. Now, each of those scenarios, I think, is real to you. It is to me. And I certainly can get into it. But I also am aware that they are both just scenarios. I've got another one for you, just to throw into the pot. See, in the cosmos, beings are working through millions of incarnations. I mean, you remember that story about how many? Buddha said, if you imagine a mountain the length that a bullock walks in a day, which is, it's 6 miles long by 6 miles wide by 6 miles high. It's a real mountain, you know, rock. And every 100 years, a bird flies over it with a silk scarf in its beak and runs the scarf across the top of the mountain. In the length of time it takes the silk scarf to wear away the mountain, that's how long you and I have been doing it. Gives you some perspective about this one, doesn't it? Geez, I don't think I can make my appointment. Wow. Whew. Time's a funny thing. Huh. We've been doing it again and again and again and again. Now imagine, see, there are all beings, I'm just giving you a scenario now. It's not true. All these beings are at different levels of the game. Some of them just got out. They just got into human form for the first time. Others have been through about 40,000 times. And you learn something each time. Or you work out karma, whatever you want to call it. So now, any place, everybody's tuned. There's a great big computer system. Everybody knows what's going on. And there are moments where it's really good for doing certain work to be at a certain place. Let's assume we all found out that if we took birth at this time, we would all simultaneously be enlightened through a bomb, a large mushroom cloud, a large white light, and we would all be free. Just take that scenario for a second. You and I are these incarnates. Now, we are in human births, so that has in it the mystery, though we got to have an illusion. You got to get caught in the illusion. So you can't know this, by the way. Only at the moment it happens will you say, oh, wow, this is what it was about. Whew, well, thank God, it's over. That's nice. You got to go through the whole suffering thing. You got to go through the, Father, why have you forsaken me, the whole trip. But what a precious moment to be born. You want that scenario? The other scenario is it's just another time and we are doing our work and it goes on and on and on and on and on. And it'll muddle along and some people will die and some will live and, you know, like an old car that just sort of goes along. An old Volkswagen. What you and I are reflecting about is how one lives within scenarios without getting caught in them. If any of you are feeling fear about the future, how silly. How absolutely silly. That's not going to help the future. It's not helping the present. It's not a functional thing at all. If you're feeling hope for the future, how absolutely silly. It's not going to help. It's just going to take you from this moment. Paul Brunton said to Ramana Maharshi in India, Ramana Maharshi, he had expressed an opinion about the future of the world as we are living in critical times. We're always living in critical times. These were the critical times probably in the 50s. Pretty critical. Not as critical as these times. And Ramana Maharshi said, why trouble yourself about the future? You don't even know about the present. Take care of the present, the future will take care of itself. As you are, so is the world. Without understanding yourself, what is the use of trying to understand the world? This is a question that seekers after truth need not consider. People waste their energies over all such questions. First, find out the truth behind yourself, then you will be in a better position to understand the truth behind the world of which you are a part. It's so clear that the obvious optimum strategy, if the world is going to end in a minute or if it's going to end in 10 billion years, is to be clear, conscious, present, and here.